Alrighty, so greetings everybody and welcome to a video that's actually not a pre-recorded version of a pre-recorded me doing pre-recorded things on a pre-recorded live stream which is done live. This is a little video on one of the more underappreciated ways of how to win Armored Warfare in PvP. Now, of course, I'm referring to the most important class in the game, which is AFVs to some extent and to light tanks to some extent. These are really the only vehicles in the game that are capable of spotting the enemy, providing information, vision, map control, etc. As you can see, I'm using the Stalker, the T2 Stalker here. Other vehicles I could have done this with probably would have been the might have been able to do this with a Rosamac, but honestly for this kind of situation I feel that the Stalker would have been the best buy. There would have also been the Griffin as well, the Griffin 120 with its massive foliage bonus, and a setup of my build and its comparison to the other good AFVs of the same tier will be on the screen now. So front lines, this is one of the more scout heavy maps in the game. And you'll see me here going up to a very predictable spot. Now, if the enemy does know I'm here, they'll usually put a single round through. If they do that, then I'll know. Unfortunately, we have a VCAC over here who is very not mindful of the fact I'm using Erin, and we have our first enemy spotted here of the day. Now, using Erin is absolutely tantamount to using an AFV, a light tank or a TD at this point. There's no really anybody else who can cover. And we have a total of about 150% spotting through foliage. The reason why I'm not using my radar at the moment is because while it will help with the spotting through foliage, see, spotted that VBR over there. It would also reduce my camouflage factor by 5%, which will make it down from 48, which means an enemy vehicle with 400 meters of spotting range will only be able to see me at 200, minus 5%. Suddenly 230, 240, maybe even 250, and that's just any MBT, any AFEs will be able to spot me from a lot longer off. And you see me here, I'm trying to tell my teammates, I'm trying to get up. Erin's camo bonus, if there's no enemies, if there's nobody within 25 meters of you, gives you an extra 77% to your camo. So we're doing something here called passive scouting, which is when you sit in one place for a determined amount of time. This is the best way to ensure map control. You can see me moving a little bit closer to my bush. But even without the radar, my combination of Erin and the thermal optics means that I basically negate one bush of cover to the enemy. Which means that bush where the VBR is, well, he's not going to be able to see anything. So you see me trying to get this Prison Knight's attention, obviously not working. Anyway, so passive mount scout control here. Now, another important thing we need to be mindful of when you're using a scout, if I wasn't using this, I would actually prefer to either use the Sprut or the Buford, as they are quite good. Spotted the dragon over there, some nice spotting damage. Even if spotting damage is only little, at the same time, as soon as an enemy is spotted, especially if they're a light one, they will be forced to get away from that place. So even in the end, the damage and scouting values won't be as good as maybe what you see on a blowout game. Just being able to deny enemy scouts, light tanks, sometimes even TDs, the ability to actually spot for themselves, move up, do damage, provide their own map and vision control is just as important as doing damage. Essentially speaking, if you can force your enemy into a corner where they can't move around in the room, you're golden. Now, as you can see here, spotted the BMD2, actually my teammates did, and I have a good fire position control on him. As you can see here, I now have 56% camo, which means that an enemy with 400 meters of view range, you won't be able to see me at what, 140 meters, maybe less. As you can see here, I'm trying to get him off. I'm somewhat hesitant of being able to fire a missile because there's that VBR behind. VBR's moved off, and I can now start missiling him. Type 16 down, which is good. Honestly, I should be firing at the Sprut because the Sprut is actually quite, what's the term, spottable. But the Sprut has good vision range, while the Type 16 and the Centauro does not. So the reason why I wasn't firing missiles at that point was because the Sprut could have spotted me, even though, but if it was just the Cent and the Type 16, I would have fired missiles at him. Basically, it's about having a good handbook in your head of certain vehicles that have good vision range and certain ones that don't. BMD2M over there did not spot me, which makes me lead to believe that this guy is not using a scout build. A lot of people tend to use the BMD because it's got those big missiles. See, finally spotted. And a good thing about the Stalker 2T is that compared to a lot of AFEs like tanks and TDs, 360 degree smoke basically means that you're not going to get spotted. That little grey thing when you smoke up, it's not going to happen if you only have directional smoke. VBR still over there, however I'm not really concentrating on him at this moment. He's somebody else's problem. I need to be focused on the enemy here. Now this isn't the best spot in the world considering I'm still relatively exposed, but my missiles are actually quite useful at this point. Abraham smoked up, hit him anyway. Good, 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 and unfortunately only chip damage there. If MBTs were not buffed to the ridiculous extent that they were with the hull and the turret armor changes, that would have been a penetrating hit and he would be dead. So now I can't exactly afford to wait around anymore. I've got to kill them, got to fire. I noticed that my missile would have been able to hit that spot in time, so I fired anyway. Got to hit him. BMD over there, hit. Good, good, good. And now thanks to my efforts of being able to prevent the M1A2 from rolling up on our flank, killing off the BMD, putting fire on the other guys, spotting the sprut, we now near enough have this game in the bag. So another good thing about the Stalker is that its missiles are actually incredibly useful. They have excellent agility. You can fire them from above ridges, which is not something that happens to quite a few now. Essentially speaking, the Stalker has the old missile layout where missiles are actually useful in terms of stuff other than doing damage. They're agile, they can hit behind ridges, etc, 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 and it's on a good, relatively high platform as well. Compare this to stuff like the Kriz or any other missile vehicles where you'll be fighting, hitting the ground as much. The Bradley with its fixed missile launcher is actually particularly notable for this. And as you can see here, I finally have my radar up, giving me the ability to basically negate 1.5 bush. When moving across fields like this, where your enemy will most of the time be in a relatively small location, they'll be in the corner, they'll be sitting in the bush, having that radar up will help, because that 5% of camo isn't going to help. Enemy Stalker over there, I'm rushing as fast as I can to engage him. Notice me going up to the ridge here. I'm pretty sure I can spot him. Can I? No, not yet. There he is. Missile out. Dead. Part of being a scout is knowing where your enemy's going to go, and it's pretty likely that he was going to go along that road. So pre-aiming is definitely a good thing. Now, an unfortunate thing about the Stalker is that unlike AFEs of its own tier, it doesn't have armor, it doesn't have an APS, it doesn't have a soft kill APS. It could be butchered quite easily with autocannons, so against stuff like a K21 or a Griffin, it's going to lose in the fight. So it needs to be on a relatively hands-off play. VBR over there, missile, oh, just missed. And the most important thing to do right now is to get out of here. A lot of things enemies are going to do, especially North Team, is that they sit on the ridges, which is honestly an incredibly annoying play and something that definitely should be flattened. But nothing I can do about that. Sprut SD over there, and he got spotted. The most important thing to do right now is ignore the VBR and go for the Sprut. I have fire control on that Sprut, whereas I'd have to go over the way for the VBR. Slid down the hill to avoid counterfire from the Sprut. Even in the game like this, they could still lose. And good hit by the BWP over there. The Dragon, definite kill on that VBR. Spotted again, which means the Dragon's going to be over there, I think. So rather than go to see the Dragon, I'm very certain I can outspot him and see him. So the best thing to me is to simply sit on the hill and wait. I have probably the heaviest bit of firepower here with my 2 missiles, heavier than the BWP and certainly heavier than our Dragon, so I can certainly waste missiles trying to hit him. see here, go to the tallest bit and just stop. View range out. And there he is. And dead. So, what did we learn? We learned that having nerves and being able to not run away at the first sign of trouble is an excellent scout location and ability to have. We know that we can quite handily have a handbook on us when we know what enemy vehicles are going to be able to spot us, which don't. If an enemy vehicle doesn't spot us at that time, we know what kind of build they're using. For instance, that BMD2 was most likely not using an errand spotter build, which meant that I was able to stay on that hill for longer. And we know that being able to roll up to kill enemies rolling up a flank rather than go for ones with more hit points is definitely more viable and productive to the game, rather than wasting 2 missiles on maybe killing that Sprut, but then I would have only had an autocannon to go against that Abrams, and with the recent MBT side armor changes, good luck shooting an MBT with an autocannon. So as you can see here, I shot the Type 16, 2 hits, making him basically a one-shot for our guys, and in the end for me, spotted the Scent, spotted the Dragon, spotted the VBR. The Dragon and VBR are very good spotters. Got a missile hit on the Stalker and the BMD-2M, 900 to him. I think the most important guy I killed or did damage to was probably going to be the Sprut. And top of the team, 5,400 damage done, 2,600 spotting. But of course the game never says anything about map or vision control, which in the early and the mid game stopping the enemy from being able to stealth fire on the hill, stopping from the enemy from being able to actually even sit on that hill to begin with, noticeably the Dragon and the VBR, stopping the enemy from being able to push up onto the ridge. The TDs would have been able to stealth fire, and I also provided overlapping vision control with our AFVs there. So good passive scouting play, 4 enemies dead. Total potential damage done would have been 7,500, but that's 3 hits. In the end, not really that good, and no damage taken, which is actually something that's quite rare for me. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this little handbook I've produced, and as always, like, subscribe, maybe leave a comment below telling me that I should do this with a Russian accent. I might even do it next time if I'm drunk. Anyway, take out there guys, and I'll see you next time.